Okay, this is just a short video on how to configure Microsoft's Azure cloud-based platform to provide a virtual machine you can use in your class. So let's assume you've signed up for some class and they require a particular architecture. They require a Windows-based machine, or perhaps even an x86 architecture CPU, and that's not something that you have. You might have an Apple Mac or something. So options are, we talked about virtualization, a very good option. I recommend it. Emulation, a little tricky. And then the third option, which is the one we're talking about now, is a cloud-based solution. So by virtue of the fact that you're a student, you get 750 hours of an Azure virtual machine. So we're going to do that. So I'm assuming you've already gone through the stuff and signed up for an Azure account. By the way, the name has changed so many times it makes my head swim. It used to be called Imagine, and then Azure DevTools for Teaching, and now it's Azure for Students. So for whatever the heck it's called now, go ahead and sign in. So here I am. I'm signed into my Azure thing. So one of the cool things it has down here, it says, hey, Azure Virtual Machine, 750 hours access. That's exactly what I want. So I'm clicking on this guy. And then it's basically going to say, is this what you want? Yep. I'm not going to bother to read all that stuff, but yeah, I'm using my Azure for Students account, and I'm getting a free virtual machine. So I'm going to hit create. Now there's one spot in this whole thing where you have to pay attention. The rest of it you can kind of be on your own. So I'm going to call mine Demo for the machine name because I'm not planning on keeping this guy. The thing you have to pay attention to is this right here where it says core. We do not want core. We want something else. So we're going to click this guy, not the core one. I don't particularly need the Azure one either, but so that's the most important part of this. The rest of it, you can just close your eyes and take the defaults, but you cannot do that here. Okay. So give it some sort of a cool name. I mean, Demo's kind of dumb. And then down here, you have to give it your accounts that you're going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, now this is a scary thing. It says, hey man, you don't really want to allow a remote desktop, do you? And I'm thinking, yeah, I do. Remote desktop allows you to sit at your machine and click on something and your browser pops open and presto changeo, you've now got a configured machine running inside your computer. A full desktop scenario. So kind of ignore their warning here. And I could go through all of the little things here about the disk size and all the rest of that stuff. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna say create. And it takes a couple seconds. It's not very long. And then it says, hey man, it's gonna cost you, so many dollars an hour. So 1.4 cents an hour. Okay, so it's saying, I'm good to go. Good. So I'm gonna say, go ahead, create. And give it just a second. You just have to wait for it. It's building all the things. Again, it's remarkably fast considering you're building a Windows server out there, right? So, a couple minutes. Okay, so it came up and said, my deployment is complete. Hooray! All right, so I'm just going to click on the thing that says go to resource. It just allows you to come up to that thing. So I'm going to ignore this thing that says my machine agent is not ready. And I'm going to do a connect. Now this is a little funky because it's basically going to say you want to create what's called an RDP file. And so this is what it wants. And I'm just going to basically say, yep, I want to build this thing. So go ahead and download an RDP file. Now this is the file that you're going to use whenever you want to connect to your virtual machine. So I'm just going to click on this guy. And it says, oh man, this is scary. Yeah, it is scary, but that's okay. So now I have it in my download. So now, without having a browser or anything up and running, I could just go to my downloads folder and click on this. Now it is going to complain mightily. It's going to say, hey man, when you're doing this, it's kind of scary. And it says, I understand and allow it. And then the firewall is going to come up and say, whoa. I've never seen this thing before. So do you want remote access, which means the guy in the sky, can it get to your, clipboard and your printers, that kind of thing? And I'm just going ahead and click on them all. and then say connect. And then one last time, it's going to come up and say, okay, whoops, I got to go ahead and give it my top secret password here. And then one last time, it comes up and says, hey, man, we're getting ready to do this. And I'm going to say, that's okay. So don't ever ask on this machine again. So I'm going to say yes. And then in just a second, you're going to be, looks like an honest to God, real Windows machine running inside your machine. So give it just a second. Okay, so it's up and running and it's logging me in. Okay, so here we are. I'm now currently running Windows Server 2022 on a cloud. So now you're an administrator on the machine. You can install whatever software. If you need Visio or Project or Microsoft Access or whatever the heck your course requires, you can now go to using the browser inside the VM. Go to back to Azure DevTools for Teaching. Pull down whatever ISO file and activation key you need for your course, and then install the software here. And now, with just that RDP file, which is just a tiny little text file, you could like put that on a thumb drive or something and carry it with you, and that will allow you to connect to the machine from any machine anywhere. Okay, I'm going to go through a little bit. I'm going to say no because I don't have any other networks going on here. And I will tell you that one of the things I don't particularly like this. If you're used to using server, this is a very common thing. But I'm going to tell it, don't bother to show this thing ever again, just because it's rather annoying. So I'm going to go here to Tools, Manage. And one of the things it says is, do I want to do not start automatically login? It's no harm. It's just if you're not used to server, it'll look kind of funky. Every time you fire up the machine, it comes up with this configuration screen. Okay, so that's about it. This is 750 hours of free compute services from Microsoft by virtue of being a student. It works pretty doggone well. I mean, I'll admit if you have a slow internet connection, this might not be ideal, but it's certainly better than spending money on buying another dang computer. Okay, so the last piece of the puzzle is the client piece. Now, if you're running Windows like I am, the remote desktop client is already installed. You don't have to do anything. But if you're running, iOS or Mac OS, or I've even done this on a Google Chromebook. There's a thing called Windows App from the appropriate store, either from the Play Store for Google or the Apple Store for Apple, and it provides the same functionality. Okay, so that's about it, and perhaps I'll see you guys in some future video.